Good. Okay, I was gonna start the episode with like this good morning everybody thing, but I actually don't know when people are listening to this, so that's kind of meaningless. But maybe I'll just say good evening because it's like kind of the evening when I'm recording this right now. I did not expect to just like be so confused. Okay, anyway. Hello everybody. Welcome back. Today is a really wonderful day. It's just an amazing day. I am feeling on top of the world right now, which, to be perfectly honest, doesn't happen all too often. Don't worry, life is good. Life is just full of great things. But I'm in an especially good mood right now, not for any reason in particular. My mind is it's deciding to behave right now, and so I'm very, very grateful for that, and I'm going to take advantage of this feeling to record another episode for this podcast. So, first of all, I just want to say something regarding having really good friends. I have this picture in my room of Charlie Brown and Snoopy and friends, all the Peanuts characters. It looks like you got Peppermint Patty, Linus, and Lucy holding up Snoopy and Charlie Brown with like, I think Franklin? Is that the name of the black kid in that show? And then you got Sally on the other side. And they're all just like holding up Charlie Brown. And, I've had this picture in my room for a long time. I can't remember when my mom made this. It had to have been when we lived in Kearns, which was like a decade ago. More than that maybe, but I don't know. I guess I've always kind of thought that, my life, I feel like Charlie Brown sometimes, where like everybody says they love you, but all the hard things happen to you, Charlie Brown has the roughest time ever, he always gets the rock in the Great Pumpkin. He gets the small tree and everyone thinks he's adult. And like he's never able to kick the football or whatever. Just like nothing seems to go his way. But I don't know, this picture of just all of his friends holding him up. That's really, I really have been blessed with incredible friends. And, due to my struggles, I don't always treat them in the best way possible. And, to any of my friends that are listening to this, everybody thank you for being incredible. I wish I could, do it justice, the amount of gratitude I have for them. I feel like I'm not a terribly emotional person usually. It's kind of hard for me to get my feelings across, but I really am I'm full of gratitude for the amazing friends I've had. Especially having moved to American Fork, I had a couple good buddies in Kearns when I lived there. We'd hang out and stuff, but in American Fork is really where I met people that they've just blessed my life. And I have so many people that they'll be lifelong friends. I'm just so grateful for the amazing friends. I truly am blessed with so many things in my life. It's easy to forget all of the things that are good in our life when they're seemingly filled with trials and hardships and things. It's easy to overlook the good things in our lives, Like, I'm grateful for amazing parents that have supported me in everything I've done. Incredible friends that have inspired me to make the right choices, Just friends that'll be there to listen to me, complain about how hard my life is and how my life is. I'm not the best at like showing my gratitude, just because I feel like my life is hard a lot and it makes it difficult for me to express those kinds of feelings. But, I'm just going to take time right now and say, everybody, thank you for helping me in my journey. You know, I know everybody has their own journeys they're going through, and you know, I wish I could help y'all more in your lives. I'm going to do my best to, you know, be there for you, be a good influence, help you with anything, you know, try to overlook my struggles and just see past myself. I'm going to see if I can do better at that. Everybody, just thank you so much. You're amazing. I love each and every one of you. I could sit down with each one of you and tell specific ways you've blessed my life. Which that actually reminds me of something I do for Thanksgiving. Is what I've done in the past is I've written a little note to individuals telling them specifically why I'm grateful for them and how they've helped me. I just do that around every Thanksgiving, you know, when I can see them, and just like stuff like that. And so that's one of my favorite times of year, because because I have to think of all the notes I'm going to write, and, you know, I'm sure there's people I can't get to just because there's so many people in my life that are awesome. It forces me to think of all the reasons that I have a great life. I'm truly blessed with all these amazing people, and it really is a good time. I need to think about that more, though. That's something I need to work on for sure. But yeah, that picture of, you know, the Peanuts characters holding up Charlie Brown, that's just, I don't know, that means a lot more to me now than it used to. It's kind of clicked why it's important to have good friends. You know, I truly have felt lifted up by them. So I guess any advice I'd give to anyone listening is make sure you're surrounded by friends. I'm not talking people that you just merely do fun things with, but like true friends, people you can just sit down with. They'll listen to you talk about your problems. You know, they'll help you. You know, they'll be there for you. They'll lift you up. Just they're more important than we realize. I have a strong testimony of that. So yeah. Anyway, I guess while we're on the topic of friends, I'll talk about something I've kind of struggled with lately, but I'm trying to get over, is comparing myself to other people. Now, in the last episode, I talked more in depth about kind of my struggles with anxiety and depression and ADD. And I haven't edited it yet, so I haven't listened to it over again. So I can't remember if I talked about this, but comparing myself to others is something I do way too often. I'll get really depressed because I'll think about, you know, like, you know, I had to come home from my mission earlier than I had wanted to because of mental health reasons. And, you know, I feel good about my mission. I'm so glad that I served a mission, like no regrets at all. It was really hard, but I'm really glad that I went and did my best and served as long as I could. But it can get a little discouraging, you know, it's near the end of summer, so almost all my friends from high school have gotten back from their missions, those that left right after we graduated, that is, and it has been a little difficult, I'm going to be honest, to see them come back, and, you know, it seems like, you know, their lives, they've got it all together, you know, like they're getting ready for school, and they're getting ready for, or like maybe they're dating somebody, or, you know, they're married, or, you know, they got this really cool job, you know, and I'm not saying that custodians don't have good jobs. I love my job. It's exactly what I need right now. I have great coworkers, great boss, but you know, it can be a little discouraging. You know, I did a semester of school at BYU, and it was really difficult for me because, you know, I was still figuring out what to do concerning anxiety and depression, and it was kind of then that I figured out I had ADD, because I could not even do the most basic things in school, you know, things that I mean, I know BYU is kind of a little more strenuous and, you know, fast paced, but I couldn't even do basic things. I couldn't even read a paper. I couldn't even focus. I just had no motivation to do the work. I couldn't even do those basic things. And that was really hard. So I pretty much had to leave BYU, and essentially I lost my acceptance, which is all right. It was a good experience at BYU. There's a lot of good things I liked about it, but it's probably not for me. And there's other options too, of schools I could go to, but, yeah, I don't know. I had to leave just because I couldn't, I had a lot of struggles with it that some people don't have. And, I had to come back from my mission early, which, like I've said before, is perfectly okay. For medical reasons and stuff, it's totally fine. I don't know if you can hear that beeping, but I think that's like the crock pot in our house. Anyway, I've never been in a relationship before. I've tried. I haven't really tried to be in one, which I know that doesn't help for getting one, but I don't know. I'm just so afraid of people thinking I'm weird. I don't want to have to face the I don't really like you, I just have a ton of fears about it. And I know it's something important that I should pursue, and it's something I want, I want to have a family, I want to have a wife that, is there for me, that knows the struggles that I have and is prepared for that. I just, all of that is really, I don't know. I have a lot of friends that it feels like they are really good at getting into, they can just get into a relationship, not in an unhealthy player type way, but they know how to approach people. They know, it feels like they know how to date effectively, I guess. And I'm not saying anyone's an expert, because we're all figuring it out. Let's be honest. But I don't know. I find it's easy to get discouraged just because I'm at a different point in my life right now. My situation's different than other people, and that shouldn't be discouraging. It's totally understandable. Luckily, I'm in a mindset right now. I'm in a mental state where I can think clearly, and I know that my condition's perfectly okay. There's no shame in that. I just need to take things at a different pace than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like one of my church leaders, my old bishop, said this. He said, life's not a race. You don't ever feel like you're in last place. It's not about who gets there first. It's just, we need to make sure that we get there at all, And I really like this song by the group Rush, one of the most amazing groups of all time. That's just one of the facts of the universe. They have a song called Marathon, and it's kind of about life being a race, but not in a first place, second place kind of situation, but more you need to keep running, you just can't give up is the thing. And there's one line in it. It says, "From first to last, the peak is never passed." And at first I was like, well, that's depressing. You can't get to the end. You can't pass the peak. But then I realized, nobody truly ever reaches the end of their journey in life. I realized that if the peak is never passed, that means, we can't exactly reach perfection, at least in this life, that sounds depressing, but it's actually cool, because that means we can infinitely improve. There's an infinite amount of improvement to be made in each of our lives, So, even if maybe I'm not at a state that I want to be at, there's still so many things I can do in life, There's so many ways I can improve and better myself, I've gotten a lot more comfortable at recording these episodes, if you haven't noticed. Honestly, for me, it's a little hard to listen to the first episode because I sound so unsure. I'm like, well, hello, everybody. I've never done this before. And, but I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it, and that's a cool thing, you know. That's a progression for me, you know. That's a personal victory, and you know, I'll have an infinite amount of chances to improve, and you know, I know there's a lot of good things in store for me in life, you know, a lot of things I'll be able to reach later on, and you know, I'm determined not to let my mental health struggles define my fate, you know, like. To some degree, I believe in kind of a fate type thing. There's just like things that are meant to happen. But you know what? I also believe in agency, that we can control our own fates. Kind of like Brave, if you've seen that movie. Excellent film. I don't care what anyone else says. Excellent film. Yeah. Man, my thought train left the station and it's not coming back. But anyway, yes. Life is not a race. I got this. Don't compare yourself to others. That's what I was talking about earlier. If anyone's listening to this and they're not religious, I strongly believe that God is real and that He wants what's best for all of us, even if it's not what we want. But, you know, there's always somebody there who wants you to do well. And He's there. He's listening. He knows what we're going through. And, you know, we can do this. We really can do this. Even earlier today, I was talking with one of my friends. I was saying, you know, I just feel like I can't do this. You know, it's just, life is so hard. I'm filled with fear all the time. I feel like I'm not good enough to do anything. And, you know, the friend I was with was very reassuring. She reassured me that, you know, I can do this. It's going to be hard, but hey, these feelings are just temporary. They'll pass. I got this. And man, going back to friends, this is why you have good friends, people, because we really can't do this alone. And so it's amazing. Friends are one of the greatest gifts from God ever. Good friends. I'm not talking about like acquaintances that you play video games with or whatever. I'm talking about friends that don't want you to perish. So, yeah. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. We're starting off with the moral lessons today, I see. And now we're going to transition to the A-Team. One of the greatest 80s shows or TV shows of all time. It's up there with like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe and Samurai Jack, in my opinion. So anyone that hasn't seen the A-Team, excellent TV show. In the 80s, you know, it's this group of soldiers that fought in the Vietnam War that were falsely accused for this crime that they didn't commit. And basically they escaped military prison in an effort to kind of prove they're innocent and, like, you know, they formed this group, you know, these 4 guys that were really good friends in the Army. They formed this group called the A-Team, where basically they help people around the country, and they've traveled across the world a couple times in the show, just like help people with, you know, their problems. And it's really cool. And what's awesome about them is that they never kill. They don't kill. They're above that. And that's amazing. And so, and it's hilarious. All the characters are so funny. But, anyway, I watched the A-Team movie recently. And I know it's been out for a while, but I just gotta say what I think about the movie. I thought the movie, there were a lot of cool things about it, but overall, I didn't like it. Just because I feel like it wasn't in the spirit of the A-Team, really. And that's something I'm passionate about, you know. If they make a He-Man movie or a Samurai Jack movie, you better not mess it up, you know. But kind of like with the second Incredibles movie that came out recently, I feel like it was good. I thought it was a good sequel, you know. They didn't botch it. It was worth the wait. I thought it was very good. But the A-Team, it felt like just kind of like a lot of action and stuff, and like and the plot was kind of like, wait, what? But Oh, there were a lot of good things I liked about it. I'll tell you what I did like about it. I liked that, you know, they had all the characters. All the characters were the same. You know, they maintained that. I thought the guy that played B.A. Baracus, I thought he was good. Hannibal, I mean, Liam Neeson's cool, but I mean, like, he didn't really fit the role, you know? Like, I don't know. George Peppard, the guy that originally played Hannibal in the show, he is the best. You know, Liam Neeson's cool, but I don't know. I think they should have got someone else. I thought getting Bradley Cooper for Faceman was really cool. You know, I was actually impressed with his job. I thought he was very Faceman-esque, and that was cool. Murdoch, he did a good job. I thought Murdoch did a good job. Something I loved in that movie was that a couple members from the original show made these cameos. The actors for Murdoch and Faceman, Dwight Schultz and Dirk Benedict, they made these cameos and they were really funny. I thought that was very awesome, especially Faceman, because, you know, he turns around and you see it's him and you're like, yeah, that was really cool. I actually had to rewind because I saw in the credits that, like, Dwight Schultz made an appearance. I was like, who was that? But I finally found him. I was like, oh, wow. He looks a little different, but yeah, it was totally him. So that was cool. Things I didn't like about it. Well, no, I'll finish on things I do like about it. There were a lot of like crazy action things that were like ridiculous in kind of like an Independence Day ridiculous. You know, you can't take that movie seriously, but the things that happen in that movie are so awesome. Like fighting aliens on the 4th of July to save the world. That is kind of the most awesome thing ever, even if that movie's kind of like really weird. But it had a lot of things like that, like Murdoch, he's in the psych ward and they're watching like this 3D movie, and and then the other members of the A-team drive this vehicle through the screen and it looks all 3D. Everyone's like, whoa. It's just really funny. And they're like in this tank in the air and they're like piloting the tank in the air. You have to watch the movie to kind of understand, but I thought that was really hilarious and awesome. And just a bunch of things like that. That was kind of true to the A-team feel. It was like, it's this 80s show, you know, all these cars flipping over, explosions, you know, awesome dives and things. Like, that's what the A-team's all about. None of this like serious, like, oh my goodness, like really dark and intense. Not really like the Bourne movies, how those are more intense, but kind of like zany and like ridiculous, kind of like the Mission Impossible movies. But yeah, I thought that was cool. They should have incorporated the A-team theme into the movie more, but they did a little bit, so that's fine. Also, there was a lot of language. There were like 3 F words I heard, you know, and I looked it up on IMDb and it said like 2 of them were incomplete. That's not true. Nope, they were complete. And, you know, like, I don't know what the limit on F words is. It better not be like 3. I thought it was 2, but maybe it's 3. I don't know. But I was a little disappointed in that. There was a lot of swearing, you know, and there's a little bit of language in the A-team show, but it's nothing very, it's the mildest swearing. So, and they had a lot more, like I said, like 3 F words, like a bunch of S words, you know, they took the Lord's name in vain a lot. I was disappointed by that. It was like, you don't need all this stuff to make a good movie. Like, if you've seen Rogue One, the Star Wars movie, people love that movie. And guess what? There's not a single swear word in it. And it's PG-13, you know, it's got all the insane action and stuff, but it has no language. It has nothing really that's offensive in it, other than maybe like people getting slashed by a lightsaber. But if you're gonna watch Star Wars, you better get ready for that. If you don't know that's coming, you haven't seen Star Wars. And like, they're at the end of the movie that they do like this whole plan and stuff. I didn't like the idea that like Faceman planned it, because I mean, that's cool and all, but it's like, Hannibal's the planner, though. Like, why'd you deviate from that? You know, and like, the plot was, it was kind of like this big reveal, like, dun dun dun, this is exactly what we were doing, you know, this insane Christopher Nolan-esque type plan that's like mind-blowing. I didn't really like that because that's not what the A-Team's all about. You know, the A-Team, it's about, you know, you see them, they have this building montage. You don't really know what they're building because they haven't really explained it. But, you know, there isn't like this insane, like ideology, like, ideology. Let's just scrap that. There isn't like this insane, like, you know, you need to know. There's the 3Ds. I can't remember what it was, like distraction, deviation, division or something. It's like, who cares about that? People just want to see cars flip over, or like using only fire hoses to defeat your enemy, or like hoisting up all of the motorcycles in this bike gang with one crane. Like, we want to see ridiculous stuff like that, not like this, like, oh, okay, this is the plan, you know. I don't know. Like, it just didn't feel like the A-Team. It felt like an action movie with characters that happen to be titled with the same names as the characters from the A-Team. So, all in all, I didn't really like it. I was kind of disappointed, but there were cool things in it. Yeah, anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but, a movie I saw recently was the new Mission Impossible movie. It's cool. It's cool. If you like Mission Impossible, definitely worth seeing. Personally, I like Henry Cavill as Superman more. But his role in this movie was cool. And for those that haven't seen it, there's one F word in it. And for anybody, I have to say this too, for anybody that hasn't seen Thor Ragnarok, just so you know, there's a bum in that movie. That's right. You see somebody's rump. And it's not what you expect, but just so you know, there's a bum. I don't know if that offends people, but that's in there. So get ready. Anyway. Yes. So something I totally want to talk about is I played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time like a couple weeks ago. And it was an interesting experience. It was not what I expected. It was actually more fun than I thought it would be. I've always had this like negative kind of perception of Dungeons and Dragons. You know, it's like, well, only, and if there's any nerds listening to this, don't hate me, but I always thought of it as like, well, only these nerds that, you know, they plan on being single for the rest of their lives, they play that, you know. It's like, it's just like this weird like fantasy, like you roll dice and things happen game. Which, that is true. However, it's actually a lot more fascinating than I thought, because, you know, you have the game master that's kind of like the narrator of sorts, and, you know, they create this, you know, this whole plot, this whole story. You know, everyone makes their own characters, and it's like it's everything that goes into the game is what the players bring, you know, including the game master. And so I have this awesome coworker named Hunter who's just the best. And he did an amazing job for like a story for, you know, the session we did, you know, and I'm committed to it, you know. We did a session, it was like 3 hours or so, you know, learning about the story, rolling the dice to see how things happen, you know, where I'm this like outlaw type character in like this space kind of universe thing. And, you know, I chose to be like the outlaw that likes women, which is totally, and I mean likes women in a kind of like a, hey baby, what are you doing later type thing, which is totally different from my personality. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not like that at all. So it's really funny to be like asking the, you know, the other characters in our story are like being all helpful, and I'm just sitting there like, what's your number, baby? You know, it's just like stupid things like that. And so that's been a lot of fun. And it's actually a pretty intriguing story. You know, we saved this village from these raiders that were stealing their supplies and stuff. But we only finished like a part of the story. But I'm honestly I'm excited to do it again. It really is kind of cool. It is intriguing to see how the game works. You're faced with these situations that the game master tells you about, and you roll the die to see like what the outcome is. It can be either good or bad depending on what you roll. And I almost died last time we played. My character almost gave up the ghost. It was close, but luckily I was able to like save myself. I rolled a good roll and I was able to survive, and so I'm still going. But it's a lot more fun than I thought. You use your imagination. You have to be creative. It's not just nerds sitting around with papers rolling die. It's nerds sitting around with paper rolling die, having these awesome imaginations. You can do like your own voice acting, which is like my dream career. Pixar, if you're listening, sign me up for your next Pixar movie. I'll totally do a voice. Or Marvel, if you're listening, if you need a villain, then I can be one. Just let me know. But yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was enlightening. There's this comedy group on YouTube called Studio C. They're pretty well known around Utah. I know even Conan O'Brien likes them. That's cool. And they have this. They have a couple sketches of Dungeons and Dragons, but they have one in particular where like, it's such the stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons setting. You have these three nerds. Like one of them's wearing like this big shirt and these glasses. His hair is like kind of messed up, and he's like, he has this like ridiculous laugh. And like the other one, there's one part in it where he's like, "Long have I desired to be kissed by a woman." and I was thinking like, man, I can relate with you so hard on that one. But I just thought it was hilarious. Definitely worth checking out. Studio C. They didn't even plug. I don't know where that came from. They didn't even pay me to. Oh, that's what I was saying. They didn't pay me to plug that into my podcast. I just love them. That's what I'm saying, people. They didn't pay me or anything. Studio C, I got you. But anyway. Oh man. Life is awesome. I've had a really hard past 2 weeks. And I'm just thinking about my friends again. I'm just so grateful for friends that, they ask how I'm doing, making sure I'm okay. They don't need to understand what I'm going through. They just need to know that, I need to be loved. Sometimes that's all I need, is just to know that they care. And I'm really grateful for that. And, I wish, I like I said earlier, I wish I was better at explaining how truly grateful I am for them. I love them to death. Anyway, something I was actually thinking about earlier today is like doing voice acting. I don't even know how you get into that, but that's always sounded like the most fun thing ever. Just like being able to be a character, I'm always talking to myself in like these different voices, I've talked to myself in like this Wakandan accent, if you've seen Black Panther, which I highly recommend, easily one of Marvel's best. It just sounds like a lot of fun, and a lot of people have told me that I have like this really cool voice. The other day, I was at my friend Ryan's house. He just got back from his mission. Just complete and utter stud. We saw The Last Jedi. Oh my goodness, that movie is awesome. When Yoda comes out, that was so hilarious watching Ryan's face. He was just like, and anyway, after we saw that movie at his house, we played Mafia, which that game is a lot of fun. That's really, to be honest, that's really the first time I've ever played it, but it was so much fun. And I was the narrator, kind of like the game master. when we played it, and it was awesome. I was just saying these creepy things like, so now we are in this abandoned amusement park. And, and there was this girl named Liz there. And, everybody had a good night's sleep tonight, and everybody woke up. Except for Liz, Like, it was just a lot of fun. And that is easily my dream job. It used to be in, like, my dream job used to be, like, being in an a cappella group, and I still think that'd be a lot of fun. But I don't know, I'm not much of a performer, I don't really love getting up in front of people and performing things. Even in high school, I was in the chamber choir, and we had a lot of, festivals and concerts and things, and, I was always so scared. Even though I'm with this choir of other people that are good at singing, it's a little nerve-wracking just to get up there and, sing your heart out. So that's probably not for me, but voice acting I think would be so much fun. Like one of my favorite, I'm getting a little nerdy, so just be careful. One of my favorite video games of all time is StarCraft, the first and second. Just because, well, I'm more into the strategy games. I'm not really into the shooter games. I get bored of those. You played one, you've played them all. But with StarCraft, it's more of a strategy game. You build up armies, and you have these objectives you need to complete, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I enjoy it. That's what I just said. Very enjoyable. And what was I saying? Oh yeah, and what's really good about what they excel at in that game and all the other games that this studio make, they excel at the voice work. They just always have these really cool voices, They have the, you have the Terrans, the humans. It's like, whatever, you can just get some guy to say something, They always have like these southern accents, like, the humans they're normal. And then you have the Zerg, which are, they're kind of like these creepy aliens that, they basically these like savages. Well, I mean, they're like these beasts, basically. They're not humanoid, really. They're really creepy and gross and slimy, and they make these gross sounds like, just like sounds like that. And you have like infested people that have these insane voices that are just like, for the swarm, and just like creepy things like that. And then you have the Protoss, which is like kind of this advanced race of humanoid beings that they don't have any mouths, but they can speak still. It's kind of like they can speak to your mind, but it's like audible. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's really cool. And they're just like very, I don't know. They have like these magic. So they like mix science and like magic, kind of. It's like it's really cool, and just like their voice work is so cool, And I don't. It would be my dream to do a voice for like StarCraft or even like Warcraft. I'm never gonna play World of Warcraft just because I feel like I lose points in life if I do. Same with League of Legends. No offense to anyone that plays those games, but I'm not gonna play them. But it would be a dream to do a voice for like a video game or something. Just be like, you could have heroic figures that are just like, we must stand as one and fight the foe, or have creepy guys that are like, I come from the shadows. It's just like really weird things like that. And I don't know, that's the dream. Just like, ooh, I'd love to be a villain. I just think that being a villain would be so fun, and a good guy, I want to do it all. But that's just me talking about my dream job. Definitely what I would want to do, though. If I were ever to make a video game, what I would want to do, this would be my dream idea for a video game, is I think I would have it kind of be a side scroller type game. I'm not sure, kind of like Mario or something if you played Super Mario Brothers. But what I would want is all of the music to be a cappella. All the music is a cappella, and what I would want to do is like you do a level, and when you start the level, there's this bass line. It's just this, with this bass going bop 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 or something, and as like the game goes on and or like as the level progresses, other parts come in, these high tenor parts and like whatever, and you can get these, like this like girl soloist by the end if you're like doing really good. I don't know exactly how it would work, but and all of the sound effects in the game are also made by the voice, just like lasers, like or like someone getting punched in the face, and just like, I don't know, stuff like that. I always thought that'd be so fun. Definitely rated E, like we got standards at this gaming studio that I will make this game at, none of this inappropriate stuff. Like we know what we're doing, and it would be so fun. But that's just an idea. But I'd love to help produce that game and do voices for it. That just sounds so fun. But anyway, kind of just a random episode today. I'm really grateful for friends. My feelings on the A-Team, Dungeons and Dragons. It's not as weird as you think. Still weird, don't get me wrong, but also very fun. And definitely worth doing once. I'm totally serious. Don't compare yourself to others. It's really not healthy. That's partially why I've had a really hard week the past 2 weeks. I've been comparing myself to people, and it's not healthy. It's not good. And that's something I definitely need to work on. But, anyway, thanks for listening. If you haven't already, checked my Facebook page, go ahead and check that. It's Spilling the Beans, a podcast by Chris Bean. It should just pop up. I don't entirely understand Facebook, to be honest. I think you should be able to find it. Go ahead, like that, follow that page. That's how you'll learn about updates, upcoming episodes. I'm not entirely sure what else I'll post. Yeah, that sounds real exciting. But you know what? It'll be good. Maybe from time to time I'll just post moments in my life that I think are exciting, worth sharing to the world. Not exactly sure. I'm still figuring this out, but hey, look, I made it to a 6th episode. That's actually, I didn't think I'd make it this far. That I've almost backed out of publishing this podcast so many times. I was just so afraid to, so scared. But, I've really come to enjoy it. And a lot of people that have listened to it, some good friends and family, they've told me they've liked it, and they're excited for me to keep doing it. So yeah, feel free to share this with anyone that you feel like might enjoy it, might benefit from it. If there's anyone that struggles with like anxiety and depression and stuff, definitely tell them about this, because, hey, look, I feel you, I know what it's like. It's not hard. That's the stupidest thing I've ever said. I meant to say it is hard. It's not easy. Depression and anxiety is very hard. It is very difficult. It's not hard, I'm sure. But, yes, anyone that you feel like could benefit from this, feel free to tell them about this, let everyone know. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm grateful for everyone's support, and I'll see you in the next episode. So long.